I'm reading Jeremy Narby's first book, or his first popular book, and all of this absolute brain fuck of dealing with banks and technology of the last few days has really put me into a state of absolute despair. But I suddenly felt better when I started reading this, and I wanted to make. I had 20 things. I wish I'd brought a pencil and paper. I had 20 things I wanted to. It's around page 52. He's looking for an internal and an external, some sort of view of the problem that he's trying to address, which is how people in the Amazon learn about the properties of plants when they are quite certain that it's the plants themselves that tell them. And he's trying to connect that with his knowledge of biochemistry and neurophysiology, and looking for a way to connect the two. And he comes across this Michael Harner, who wrote a manual popular manual on shamanic techniques on visualization and drumming. And the first chapter is a 10-page description of Harner's experience taking ayahuasca. And he puts a footnote. In retrospect, one could say they were almost like DNA, though at that time, 1961, I knew nothing of DNA. And he's talking about dragon-like creatures that dropped from the sky into the sea. And they sound like the description: black specks dropped from the sky by the hundreds and landed in front of me on the barren landscape on the ground. I could see the specks were large, shiny black creatures with stubby pterodactyl-like wings and huge whale-like bodies. And he said, I learned that the dragon-like creatures were inside all forms of life, including man. This is page 55, and it's that he says were almost like DNA. That's a real jump. But it's only a jump from the the scientific angle. It's not a jump from the point of view of trying to see how it is that molecules inside human bodies interact with molecules in plants together to produce these kinds of experience. So it's entirely in the kind of anthropological perspective that he's saying that they're like DNA. A lot of the substances like dimethyltryptamine are endogenous in man. I mean, we produce them naturally in our cellular metabolism. But they're part of regulatory and controlled networks. And presumably that there's some sort of homeostatic, there are all sorts of homeostatic control loops and things involved in cellular metabolism and neuronal activity. So when you take extra, you're effectively the extra DMT from the plants, when you ingest them, is going to be like an external button on those metabolic processes. Or you're presumably influencing them in all sorts of incredibly complex ways. I don't know how. I don't know how you could separate out. Well, we don't know. The knowledge about ayahuasca and how it works is really thin on the ground, because it's very hard to produce standard concentrations of these chemicals in natural preparations. I mean, you're taking some pieces of a liana at a certain stage of its growth. They're about when the vine is about the width of your fingers. You're cutting it and then mashing it, and then concentrating that mixture. And it depends where the vine is growing, what it might depend on the time of year. Although in the tropics maybe that's less important. It's what I often thought about coca. There's so many different sources of coca, and you get all sorts of other odd little plants that show up in it. It's hard to make quantitative analyses and things, and I don't know what other basis there is for studying effects of ingesting these sorts of things on the human cellular metabolism. But those were actually none of the things that I was thinking. That the 20 things that I wanted to take notes and write down have all gone now. The problem that I'm having is that and I think it's the kind of the problem that I got in Bolivia, is that dealing with technology and communications and things is just totally incompatible with it's incredibly hard to mix the two unless you're just thinking about logic. But if in the middle of that you're supposed to start renewing online subscriptions to one thing and another, well, after a few years of that, you lose your access to your email addresses and your stuff. It's not going to happen. Anyway, these are drawings by a botanist. Wasn't Rachel Dolmatov a botanist? No. No, he's an anthropologist. It's because I remember the name from Wade Davis' book. Anyway, this is a great book, and so is his recent one, Plant Teachers. Yeah, this is some paper on the Desana of the Colombian Amazon. There's a brain. Great fun. Snakes. They show up everywhere.